When I was 16, 17, and 18, I always thought that the best way to make money was to get a job at any company and slowly work my way up. Even if this meant I was working for $6 or $7 an hour at Walmart bagging groceries, and then I'd slowly work my way up to cashier, then hopefully department manager, store manager, and work my way up that way. Yet, I later came to realize that this is the perfect way to get stuck into a 30-year career capping out making around $50,000 a year. And to me, that wasn't what I wanted. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but in this video, I really want to help you see how there might be ways for you to double your income, whether you're working for $8 an hour now or you're making $50,000 a year. Let's talk about it. So obviously, since everyone watching this video is going to have a different income to start with, I'm gonna have to break this video down into two parts. I'm gonna talk about what I call now jobs. These are the jobs where if you're working for minimum wage or you're working for a low income right now, you can very, very quickly increase your income with just a quick shift. Then I'm gonna talk about then jobs. And then jobs are basically jobs that you wanna think about doing in the future, and you learn to do those jobs while you're doing your now job. So we're gonna talk about now jobs and then jobs. Let's start with now jobs. Which, just a heads up, in this video, I'm gonna go through 13 really awesome and profitable different kinds of jobs. So I'm sure there's an idea in here for you, but if for some reason you get stuck in one of those ideas, make sure to join me in my daily live streams and I can help you get to the next stage. I have experience personally in almost all of these fields. Can't wait to help you out. Links down below, no monthly fee. Can't wait to see you in those live streams and help you out. In recessionary times, companies experience what are called cash crunches. And you might think, oh, well, that means they're not gonna be able to hire. Well, you gotta go to the right jobs. And one of the best places to go are to companies that make loans. Because guess what? Companies that make loans end up giving cash to companies who need cash. And so there tend to be a lot of jobs available at lending companies. And the specific kind of job that you want to start with absolutely no experience required in many cases. Obviously, there are going to be positions that prefer experience, but in many cases, you don't need any experience. As long as you're like a capable human being, you could do this job. It's not that hard, okay? You want to apply to be a loan processor. A loan processor is, in short, somebody who essentially looks at somebody's application who wants money, and then they compare that application to a criteria, and then they say things like, all right, it looks like we're missing this from your file. We need updated bank statements. We need updated tax returns. We need updated this, send that over to me. And then you get it, you look at it and make sure it's all complete, and then you check off the boxes. I'm not trying to minimize the work of a loan processor here, but if you're capable of being organized, you're capable of communicating and using a computer and using email, you could do this job. And I just did a quick search. I've got it up right here. I'll share on screen right here. I just did a super quick loan processor job search on Google Jobs. And I found this here, loan processor, Apple One, Westlake Village, $30 an hour, no experience required, seeking hardworking, detailed-oriented people. And this was posted 4 days ago. $30 an hour, like, oh my gosh. I wish when I was 18 years old, I just knew to look for a loan processor job. And lending right now is blowing up because of the mortgage industry as well. So hit up your banks, hit up your loan originators, hit up your loan officers. You could Google these, find people who need loan processors. You could even go to private companies, look on Yelp for loan officer, and then find small independent companies that are just looking for hardworking people to help them manage the paperwork and the clients. It's a really easy, great way to start. Number 2, in recessionary times, people are looking to save money, and real estate agents, insurance companies, contractors, and property managers are all no different. And guess what they all need? Photography and documentation. So I highly recommend checking out the Insta360 camera. It's a relatively inexpensive investment. So for under $500, you could end up setting yourself up a 3D Matterport scanning business using the Insta360 camera. Now, I'm planning a review for this camera, how it works, and some more details. So if you're looking forward to that, make sure to hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. But here's my expectation. In the past, I made a video about how you could use an expensive setup, like a $5,000 kit essentially, to create a full-on photography business. But the Insta360, while the quality is not as superior, has really created this opportunity for you to provide a service to people at a pretty inexpensive price. And look at this 3D scan. I did the scan in 18 minutes using the Insta360 and my iPhone. And it's pretty dang good. You could rip photography from this for listings, for rent, for sale, to help with insurance claims, to help with contractors. And because you could do it so dang fast, you could charge extremely reasonable prices. And in my opinion, you could easily make $50 per hour with an Insta360 scanning business because you could be so quick on your feet. Number 3 is being a real estate wholesaler, which I know some of you might go, what, Kevin, you're suggesting that? Look, I just bought a deal as an investor from a real estate wholesaler who spends most of his time vacationing in Bali. And I was on vacation in Disneyland, and they wholesaled me a deal and took like a 15 or 20 grand finder's fee. Like, oh my gosh. How do you wholesale real estate? Well, wholesaling real estate, the cool thing is you can pretty much do it on the side of you doing a now job or a then job. And you don't, in most states, have to be licensed to be a wholesaler. Basically, your goal is to sell information. You want to find distressed properties, and once you find a distressed property, you have to establish value. So your goal, pretty much your only job as a wholesaler, is find fixer-uppers, distressed single-family real estate, maybe they're probate sales or trust sales, and you've got people that aren't exactly sure how they should go about selling a house or maximizing the value for a house, especially if it's a hoarder house like one that I just recently bought. And once you can identify value in a deal like that, there is absolutely zero shortage of real estate investors that you could sell these deals to. Finding people to buy the deals from you is easy. The hard part is finding the deal, which is why I say this is a good side hustle in addition to the other job that you're doing. But then once you find that deal, making sure you've got your numbers right. So a really smart thing for everybody to do is get educated in how to identify value in real estate. The cool thing about that is if you know how to identify value in real estate, you could be a computer programmer, you could be a lender, you could be a contractor, you could be a loan processor, you could be working at McDonald's. And you can wholesale real estate on the side. It's like the ultimate side hustle for anybody who's already got a job. Just keep your eyes peeled for deals. Remember, there is never a shortage of people who want to buy those deals. The most successful wholesalers are the ones who are most educated in identifying value. And I happen to have a really awesome real estate investing program linked down below that'll teach you how to go from zero to millionaire that so many people have absolutely been loving. Wholesalers, flippers, real estate agents, brokers, investors, managers, you name it. Everybody has been loving this. I hope you join it. And if you join it, remember, you get to join me every single day at 9 a.m. California time for a daily live stream about the market, real estate, and stocks. Now, what if you don't want to work with a computer or you don't really want to deal with people? Hey, I totally get it. Absolutely fine. Here's something that I learned being a licensed contractor. I could have absolutely clueless people looking for work. And as long as they were willing to show up on time or early and stay a little bit late every day, knew how to push a broom, they could get a job working for a contractor as an entry-level laborer making $20 an hour easily. Now, just a heads up, this can potentially be location dependent. If you're in central Ohio, you might not be making $20 an hour out of the gate. But if you're in a high cost of living area or even moderate cost of living area, and you're willing to work hard, show up on time, learn, and work with your hands, and you don't mind getting a little sweaty, oh my gosh, with zero experience, you could start at 18 to $20 an hour. Good contractors are almost always looking for reliable help. Reliable help is so hard to come by. And the cool thing is every day you're working, you're gaining experience, which is gonna help you get to a then job and your pay's gonna go up in the meantime. It is crazy how much money there is to be made as a construction worker, especially if you're thinking, well, do I wanna work at McDonald's or do I wanna swing a hammer? Go swing the hammer! You're gonna like double your income. Now with construction, there's obviously a little bit of a recessionary risk. That is, construction tends to slow down as the market slows down. And so if you're considering construction, especially during a panic or some kind of illness going around, I'd highly recommend looking for commercial contractors working on hospitals, temporary housing, temporary tent facilities. Like, these contractors are desperate for manual labor. And if you get in with a commercial contractor, oh my gosh, 20 bucks an hour could just be the start of your pay. Amazon. This should be no surprise, but as people are stuck at home, orders at Amazon are going through the roof, and Amazon just announced they're looking for 100,000 more employees. Whoa. Now, the cool thing about Amazon is Amazon has excellent upward mobility and in-house training to help you learn to really get integrated into the Amazon culture. The danger is getting stuck or kind of shafted into their seasonal positions or sort of on-demand positions. You really kind of want to stay away from those. Do whatever you can to get your foot in the door, though, and then work your way up. Amazon is a great company for upward mobility, especially if you're willing to work hard and grind it out. Now, this one sort of rides on the heels of working for Amazon, and what I highly recommend you do right now if you're thinking about this is Google Class A CDL licensing. That process takes about 7 weeks. It's not that expensive to get done. And guess what happens once you have your Class A CDL? You could easily get a job working for UPS or FedEx as a full-time driver. In fact, here's a full-time Rota driver listing that was posted just 4 days ago, and Glassdoor, LinkedIn, and ZipRecruiter says the average pay based on location is between $30,000 to $78,000 per year. Now, obviously, because these jobs have an application period, that is, it takes time for you to get hired and trained, you can oftentimes get your CDL license at the same time as you're going through the application process with UPS or FedEx. This is why I said, get your CDL now, get that process started, and heck, if you go to an interview with UPS or FedEx, and they go, hey, do you have your CDL? Go, hey, I'm actually halfway through my CDL process. I've only got 3 weeks left to go. They usually reply with, sounds great. Our training's 3 weeks anyway, you know? Super high demand job, so something really to consider. Now, speaking of delivery services, if you don't want a CDL, another type of delivery service that you might consider doing is actually running supplies for Target. Now, I specifically mentioned Target over working for Whole Foods and Amazon because here's the thing. When someone shops with Whole Foods or Amazon, they usually prepay like a $5 tip. It's not that great. It's not based on your service. It's prepaid, done. Target, on the other hand, after the customer receives all their stuff, that's when they're gonna go in the app, much like Uber, and they rate you and they pay you a tip, which the tips for Target pre-fill between 15 to 25% as a tip, which is really good. My favorite part about this is, especially during a kind of panic, is if you dress yourself in kind of like a hazmat attire, like in the video I did yesterday, and I showed you exactly what stuff to buy to be able to dress yourself like this, and then you even like sanitized the stuff you were delivering or sprayed it down as you put it on their doorstep, and you said, hey, you know what, I did everything I could to make sure this stuff was as clean as possible, no guarantees, but obviously I'm trying to do my best to make sure all of your products are clean and safe. Oh my gosh, come on. Not only are people likely to rate you 5 stars, which guess what happens with the Target app? If somebody rates you 5 stars, you're most likely to get repaired with that homeowner ordering through you again, but they're probably also gonna tip you really well. So now not only are you getting tipped well, but when you get rated well, Target's gonna keep hooking you up with that same customer, and boom, you could make some bank in a time when people don't want to go outside, especially if you respect the environment that we're in right now. Now, speaking of the environment we're in right now, another job to consider is hitting up hospitals. With no experience, you could become a hospital registrar and make between $18 to $25 an hour with no experience in some cases, which is really amazing. Now, that word may sound fancy, but registrar just means you're registering patients as they come in. You could even be a staff coordinator. Heck, you could start as a patient transporter if you want. There's so many jobs available in a hospital environment, and if you're comfortable working in a hospital, there are plenty of jobs for hard workers right now willing to put in the grind and go work in a hospital environment. Now let's get into the then jobs. So all of the jobs that I just mentioned were the now jobs, and my expectation is if you're working for minimum wage, if you're making $10, $20, $30,000 a year, you could use a combination or even just one of these skills here in terms of these now jobs and potentially double your income. That Insta360 business, in my opinion, there's no reason somebody should not be able to make at least $75,000 to $100,000 a year if they really put in the hustle with that business. These are some really great business ideas. But now let's talk about the then jobs. The then jobs are where the real profit's going to come in. This is where scale comes in. Number one then job, which is super hot right now, is becoming a loan originator or loan officer. Remember how earlier we were talking about how you can be a loan processor? That's really good experience for this then job. But in the meantime, as you're doing any now job, you could actually start working on your licensing requirements to become a loan originator. They're really easy. I've got them pulled up right here. It looks like you need about 20 hours of pre-licensing education, and then you have to study for the test, which I've passed this test. I've done this licensing. It's a joke. You could do this all online. You could do this while you're doing a now job, and then you could eventually become your own loan officer and do loans for people like mortgages. Right now, there's so much demand for mortgages because rates are trending downward that as long as rates continue to trend downward, a loan originator job is going to be a great way to make a substantial income fast. And I mean, a good loan officer could easily make $125,000 to $250,000 plus. The beautiful thing about being a loan originator is you can also get scale. By hiring loan processors, you could end up building a team around a loan origination business, and you could seriously like 10x your life by becoming a loan originator and make some serious dough. Now, by the way, if you're thinking about being a loan originator, but you're not sure if you're comfortable with financing or math or the numbers, you could actually take my real estate investing program, and even if you just scroll through the lectures, you'll see the financing section is almost 100 lectures long, and it takes you literally from zero knowledge about loans and financing to the ins and outs of not only how to get the best deal on loans, but if you're a loan officer, how to get people into the best loans. That's going to create loyal relationships and really, really happy customers. Which another job that relies on happy customers and loyal customers is being a real estate agent. If you want to become a real estate agent, realize as well you could do it pretty much all online. You do flashcards for a test, and boom, with no experience, you could become a real estate agent. You just have to go through the licensing process. And then, I always say this, if you know how to make people money, you know how to identify value in investments, much like the wholesaler in the now job, you become a really good wholesaler, you pretty much always end up becoming a real estate agent. And then you could do the same thing the lender does. You could build a team around your real estate license. You can build a business around identifying value and putting people into great properties and great deals. Now, if you went in the manual labor direction, make sure you use that experience, and after you've got 2 to 4 years, depending on your state, consider going for your contractor license. Just be careful not to hire too many employees. Employees in contracting can be a little bit of a risk, so be careful scaling too much with employees. The best way to make big bank as a contractor these days, new construction or spec housing. If you could be a spec house new construction developer and you could subcontract the foundation, the electrical, the framing, and all these things, and you don't have to rely so much on employees, you could subcontract out, you could make a substantial amount of money. There's a contractor in my city who's about 31 years old who became a contractor at 19 years old, and right now he makes over $600,000 a year, and he doesn't even lift a hammer. All he does is use the fact that he has his contractor license and he helps people put together spec houses and he subs it all out, and boom, he's making bank. Now here's another favorite of mine. Remember, you can always go to like a 6-month coding boot camp and probably get a job at some startups or some pretty nice tech companies up in San Francisco, which is insane. Now, you might not be able to open the door to Google or Apple or some of these other bigger companies right away, but you go to a coding boot camp, then you start building experience, you could pretty quickly lateral on over into some of the big tech companies like Tesla, Apple, or Google. So realize putting in that 6-month investment into a coding boot camp and learning how to code, yeah, there's a lot of money to be made, especially in NorCal. Now, the very end stage of your now job and your then jobs is the long-term investor. Throughout all of the different jobs you do, remember that you're doing the jobs not to pay your bills, you're doing the jobs to retire wealthy and early. That is the goal. That's exactly what I teach you in my money program. That's exactly what I teach you in my real estate investing program, my management program. You gotta figure out how you're going to become a long-term investor. So check out those coupon codes down below, become a long-term investor, and join me. Thanks so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram, and until next time.